Here in session 2, we are going to see what are the essential tools of your Linux, and we are going to understand in depth of that particular essential tools. Along with that, we'll also see what is the directory structure here. Before that, we'll start with the requirements of the Linux. What exactly the requirements are there for practicing your Linux now. So before preparing the exam, we should have the hands-on practice for this particular examinations. So for that, I'll be using my OS image. OS image, I'll be using Red Hat. You can even use Red Hat ISO image, or if you have a physical DVD, you can use that DVD as well. So it can be your demo version which you use, evaluation version, or you can use a purchase version of Red Hat. If you don't have that, even you can use CentOS, which is freely available on your CentOS site. You can download it from there. Now for doing the practicals, I'll be using a virtualization software. I'll not be using my base machine for this. So these are the virtualization software which you have: VMware, VirtualBox and Virtual PC. I'll be using my VMware. Now here we are going to study about the directory structure. As we know, for understanding your Linux, very first thing we should know, that is your directory structure. First we will understand what is the Linux, how the data are stored. As we already discussed here, you don't have any drives, any particular thing mapped. So we have to do everything, and everything here we have in form of file and directories. So we should understand that first. So for understanding, I'll be using my virtual machine here, and in that virtual machine, I have already installed my Red Hat operating system, and we will be using a Red Hat operating system, and the virtualization software which I am using here, that is your VMware. So I am using my VMware. I've started my Linux. So this is the desktop of my Linux, that is your GNOME desktop. So here you can see the icons here. These are default icons. When you get login with user, you get this default icon. This is a Red Hat DVD which I have mounted. Now this is my home directory. So home directory, whichever the user you have logged in, like here I have logged in through root. So here, top right corner. So here through root is having its own home directory. So whenever you log in with any user, it will have a home folder. So whatever the data you store for root, that will be in this home directory. You can see you have desktop, you have documents. So whatever the desktop icon you have, it will be stored over here. So we can just see, right now we don't have any document which is created by root. I'll be creating one folder with name test here. So I have created with name test. Now you can see on your desktop graphically, just I'll minimize the screen and we should see it over here. Now the test is created. This test is created by your root. So we are able to find that particular directory in the root home directory of the root itself. Now here, the same way we have downloads, we have your KS file. For this, KS is nothing but a kickstart file that we are going to study ahead. Now music, pictures, videos, public, templates, whatever the folders you have, that is the user's data. The user through which you have logged in, that is root's data. So all the particular user which you have, they have their own home directory where they can store the data. So for looking this particular structure, first we should know what is the structure and where this home directory is located. So for that, we can move in our directory structure by using this file menu. You can see. Now here we have to jump to a location. So we will directly jump to the location by using enter location option below. So we'll move in enter location. We'll click on this. Now the root directory which we have, that is we are used in /root. So slash is nothing but the root directory. That is a mount point which we call it as. So it is symbolized by front slash. So we will be using front slash, that is mount point. We'll move inside it. So you can see these are the folders, which are the very important folders of your operating system. When you install your operating system, you can find all these directories over here. So we are going to see in description of this particular directories which you are having over here. We'll go one by one with each and every directories here. So very first thing, we are going to start with our directory bin here. Now bin is a directory which is used by your standard user, which stores your binary files, of the users. So whatever the commands generally the user uses, either you're creating a directory, creating a folder, all these particular directory commands, whichever the commands you have, that will be stored under your bin. So bin will be used by the standard user. It will be having a limited commands. So that particular commands file will be accessed by the user. So everything here inside the bin will be in a form of your files itself. So bin generally will also be used by the super user, because this particular files which we store in the bin, that can be used even by your standard users or even by your root users. So all the commands will be available over here, but some of the commands which is not available in bin will be the super user commands, so which is not accessed by the standard users. Those standard users have to get some permission from the root, then they will be using the other super user commands. Now here, after bin, we are also having more of this particular folder. So next we are going to move towards your boot. So boot is a folder which contain the booting files. Now we know while installation, in the first introduction we have seen, we have grub2. Grub2 is nothing but Grand Unified Bootloader file, which is a loader file here. So this contains the configuration file of your grub. Now grub, we have Grub Cfg. This is the file which will contain the boot levels of your system. It will contain the boot configuration. If you want to make any changes in your booting, you can change it from this particular file. So this is the file generally which we have, completely scripted file it is. So you need, if you want to change, you have to change the settings in this particular script file itself, like which terminal we are using, which is the first boot priority we have, what is the display name generally which we have, what is the label which we have for our Linux, everything you can find in this particular file. So while modifying this file, you have to be very careful. Now this is the label which you have. If you are changing any particular parameters, it may also affect your boot loading. So while loading the boot, we have to just check this particular file. If you want to make any changes, you have to see in this particular file. So it is of 200 MB by default. This is the grub file which we have in your boot. Now we will be moving towards Dave. Dave, by term itself, it shows that it is related to the devices. So all the physical components or attached components which you have, that gets stored under Dave. Not only that, even the removable devices which you have, that by default goes under your Dave. So in Dave you will have all the particular component file. So it will be in a form of file itself. So whatever the devices you have, that will be in a file. Look, so that file you have to mount somewhere and then you will be using that file. Next we have etc. etc is your configuration file for all the particular components of your system. So in your system, whatever the configuration you do, all the configuration system changes, it will be done in your etc itself. Whether it can be any kind of configuration, your server configuration or local computer configuration will go into etc. Now we have home. Home is nothing but the home directory for the standard users. As we have seen, root has a separate home directory. Now below home you can see the root. Root is a separate home directory for the root, as root is a super user like your administrator in your Windows. So here we have a home directory for the standard users. Whenever any particular user you create, it already get a home directory. Now here I have created one user with name user1. So it creates its own home directory. Whatever the data the user1 will create, as like root, it will contain all desktop, documents, whatever it has. But once if it is logged in, so this user has not logged in. So if you click on this particular user folder, we will not be able to see anything because this user has not logged in yet. So we can find that. Now here it's having nothing. So we can see further, if we are logged in through user1, we'll be able to see all the particular folder which we had seen in our root itself. Like all the user which we create, they have their own home directory in the home. Now we have lib. Lib is a library. Now we have lib and lib64. So this is a library file for 32-bit and 64-bit operating system. Next we have media. All the removable media which you have, that gets stored under your media. So if you connect your DVD, if you connect your removable devices, by default the location which we have for storing this particular devices are media file. Right now we don't have any particular media located here. Now MNT is a MNT by itself. It is a location where generally you can mount the devices. Now we know Dave contains all the devices file. So that particular device will be saved under your MNT. Same way opt is optional. Proc is nothing but all the process of your different devices which you have, like your memory, your CPU. You can check the status in this particular proc. Now we have root. As we already discussed, this is a separate home directory for our root. So all the standard user home directory will be in your home. But root contains separate home directory. Run is nothing but, again there is a command line generally which we have. All the particular files and folders for this particular run will be stored in this particular directory here. Now along with it, we are also going to see more directories here. Like you have sbin, is a super bin folder. It contains all the files commands which we don't have in bin, which will be available in your sbin now. So sbin contains all the super bin command files. So all root, if they want some high level of command which should not be used by standard users, will be used by your sbin, through your sbin. So sbin is a super bin for super user, that is root. Next we have, that is SRV. All the services related files will be stored over here. System related file will be stored over here. Temporary files you can store in temp, where after reboot it will disappear. USR will contain all the shared documents, or we can say documentation or sample files which we have seen in documentation. Now var is a variable data. There are some configuration which varies, like your DHCP, your DNS name, which generally varies. So we can store those files in your var. So we can show that it is varying, it is changing by time to time. Now this is about your directory structure of your Linux. So these are the directories which are very important to know. First, if you are knowing this particular directory very well, so you will be able to use this particular Linux nicely. So we should know where generally we are using this different devices and different components. So here in Dave, you can see all the devices are mounted here. Your CD-ROM. Now you can see the CD-ROM is in a form of file. If I want to open this CD-ROM, I won't be able to use this. So I can not directly access this CD-ROM, or I cannot directly access any of these particular devices. So for using these devices, I need to mount these devices in a specific location. So I'll be using any particular directory. Default location is your MNT. Okay. So these are the directory structure which we have already seen. Now this is MNT, where we generally mount the devices. So devices can be mounted in MNT. Either you can create your own separate folder where it will be mounted, but default one is MNT now. Now here we have seen all the directory structures which we have. So this particular directory structure, you should be thoroughly use that particular directory structure, because in future we will be using these directories. So we should know in which location we have located what particular thing here. So all the devices, all the in Dave, etc in your etc contains your local configuration, home directory for standard users, root is separate directory for your root, booting files, bin, your command line files, temporary data, USR, any particular help you want that you can get in your USR folder. So this is what exactly we have seen in the system, in your directory system. So now we are going to stop this particular video, so that in next session we can study about the other essential tools which we have.